The hot-headed turtle gets a hot new statue release. Here's your look at the new Diamond Select Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael Gallery Diorama statue. A ferocious fighter, Raphael is the master of his twin Sai, although he has been known to lose control in battle. While loyal to his brothers, he will occasionally strike out on his own, and often disagrees with his more cautious brother Leonardo. This gallery diorama of Raphael is made of high-quality PVC and features detailed sculpting and paint applications. It was designed by David Force, Kinetic Underground Incorporated, and sculpted by Sandro Luis Sampaio. Get ready to say sayonara to the Foot Clan. It's pretty bad. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael Diorama Gallery statue. That's a bit of a mouthful. I'd like to thank the folks over at Diamond Select that did provide this sample we could have a look at. If you have been taking a tally on this channel, then TMNT statues, we've already had a look at Leonardo. Now we're going to be following it up with a hot-headed Raphael. I'm not going to measure it here because even though that is the highest point on the actual turtle, his Sai, in fact, is the highest. So we're going to go over here instead. Raphael is actually, from a statue, is going to stand at 8.5 inches in height, or is about 21.5 centimeters tall. Sliding over the master of the Sai and bringing in the master of the Katana. Here's what the figure looks like with the earlier looked at Leonardo. Now, the thing about Leonardo and Raphael is that you probably have noticed already right away that they're going kind of more with those Playmates colors, in that Raphael is kind of more of a lime green color, and Leonardo was kind of more a lighter, what would you say, avocado color. Either way, though, nice looking statues as a whole. Now, the way they've actually got these set up to connect, and if you look at actually Leonardo, we already know the fact that this side of his base is actually the flat, smoother part. If you look at the way they've actually done with Raphael's is actually right here. And on the actual side of the packaging, actually on the back of the packaging, not on Leo's, but on Raphael's, they show you how they have them aligned. The way they've got them connected is actually, if you take obviously this back section, line it up with this one here, you have it in such a way that Raphael really is in the front. He's the head. If you were to basically look at the statue that way, he would be the head of the turtles, and then Michelangelo would be over here, Donatello would be at the back. I feel like, honestly, it should have been flipped the other way around. They sort of have kind of based the mindset off of the original 90s TMNT movie, in that Raphael sort of became the leader of the turtles. Obviously, if you listen to the rap as well, Raphael, he's the leader of the group, even though I strongly disagree. I honestly would have rather had it where Leonardo could have been in the front and Raphael could have been at the back. But it isn't going to work by the way they've sculpted the statue. It has to kind of go that one way. Until we eventually look at, though, Michelangelo and Donatello, then we'll really know for sure if there's really other ways to configure the statues. As of right now, though, that seems to be the only way. Sliding back in, though, Raphael, getting a closer look, though, at the statue. The thing I, again, like about these statues is the fact that the display base, from a standpoint of standing them solo, ideally, you could just have the Raphael on his own. It doesn't necessarily look like he has to belong to something else. That is to say, until, of course, you look at this side of the statue, where obviously the unfinished black side is going to be facing. I mean, obviously, from this section of the statue, and even on this side as well, everything looks really well sculpted, painted, and equally finished as well. The only other side is this side here that's, again, going to connect to another turtle over on this side. On the top, though, we've got another remain of a Mauser. All these Mauser parts, and yet we don't actually have any parts to foot soldiers. What's funny, though, about Raphael is that if you spin his around, unlike actually having Leo, where Leo had the sign of Antonio's Pizza, Raphael instead has what looks to be beer cans. Now, looking at the rusting on some of these, I don't know if these are his, that he always just happens to go on the top of the building here and just drink away some brewskis. But it does look like some of them have aged, some of them have rusted, and again, some of them are a little bit more smashed up as well. I like that, again, each of the display stands have different things going for it. Again, only assuming that based on only just the Raphael and Leonardo we've looked at so far. I would imagine, though, that when we do eventually look at Donatello and Michelangelo, that probably they're going to have unique things on top of theirs as well. On the side, we've also got a bit of a pipe hanging down here. Again, that's got some nice additional rusting added in there as well. Like everything, again, from the sides at least that are finished, look really good. The fact that they even took the time to color the bricks differently so that they're not all the same sort of red coloring, and you've got a little bit of kind of off brownish, kind of almost kind of look purplish black there. Really nicely done here. And again, you've got a broken part there on the side of the building. Of course, on top of that, I can't help but obviously point out the fact we've got Raphael. Now, the thing about Raphael, though, is I've noticed his face is a little bit fuller. Again, I don't know if it's taken some cues from the original 90s film, but he definitely has a much fuller face than Leonardo's. I don't know if I would say I like this face as much as Leo's, and some bias may have something to do with, obviously my opinion may have a little bit of biasness behind it. It looks good. I mean, obviously it's a good looking head sculpt for Raphael. One thing I will say though about it is it isn't as nicely painted as Leonardo's. I mean, obviously instead of blue and now we've got the red, but it looks like the red is kind of unfinished in some of the areas. It's noticeably brighter here at the top. Kind of looks like, I don't know if they maybe have painted too much of it. It definitely does look like there's some various different colors of red happening. So you've got some darker reds, you've got some little lighter reds on the top there. It isn't, I feel, the cleanest looking headband. Leonardo's definitely was painted a little bit better, I feel, at least. Now, he does have, again, like that little R in the middle there, of course, signifying that this is Raphael. You've got some pockets there on the side. They're not quite the same placement of pockets either as Leonardo. One thing I do really like about this is that all the gold is, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any real paint problems other than the already mentioned headband. The sides are nicely painted. Sai, plural of sides, is still Sai. Gold on the top of the handle. You got the actual main blade of the Sai nicely done here in silver. I mean, some attentions to detail that I may have even overlooked when you looked at Leonardo. Got the little snaps there on the back of his belt that are nicely done here as well in gold. Still like the coloring that they've used for the shell. Even though really he is a different color than Leonardo, the shell is about the same color. And, you know, in fact, let's actually bring back in Leonardo so you guys can see. So there's a consistent color scheme happening here. Leo's happens to be the same coloring. They also have used what seems to be the same gold also on the sheath that they also used as well for the handles. So like all the weapons, they seem to be using that same level of gold. Really like the look of that. Again, I'm not as big of a fan of the Raphael, but I mean, ultimately though, when it's all said and done, obviously I'm just going to want to have all the 4 turtle statues all connected together. In fact, actually, speaking of that, though, I keep putting away Leonardo here. One thing I will say, though, in closing thoughts when it comes to the Raphael, I do also like the form that they chose for him. It has a lot of strength behind him. Obviously, he's got the one side drawn forward in front of him. He's got the other one behind him. And again, I personally like the idea that they chose the colors that they did. Now, I was kind of looking at other configurations. Obviously, I could have it like this, for example, where Leonardo would be on one corner, Raphael would be on the adjacent corner. The problem with that, though, obviously, is the fact that we've got the unfinished side there for Leo. As it is right now, the only configuration I can think of, unless I have it maybe facing this way, Leonardo maybe facing like this way. But I mean, I don't think that would necessarily work either. I mean, I guess you could have them cornered, but the only problem with it then is like Leonardo's going to be facing this way, Raphael's going to be facing the opposite way. Again, if you base it from the packaging, what they actually have, not on Leo's, but on Raphael's, is that they actually have them configured this way. And it's about the only thing I would say I would disagree with. I mean, if you're basing it from a lot of really the medium of comics and otherwise, usually Raphael has always seems to be front and center ever since the 90s movie. But I was kind of consider obviously Leonardo to be the leader of the Ninja Turtles. I would have maybe honestly made him more front and center and maybe in fact flipped the roles around and had maybe Raphael standing in the back instead. Some pricing may have also changed since the time I was doing the review of Leonardo. Leonardo, in fact, when I did do the review of him, I mentioned that the price that he was going for was around $59.99, so around $60. Funny, though, that all the remaining 3 turtles, the Raphael that we looked at in this review, we've yet to then look at Michelangelo and Donatello. They're all asking $74.99 over, at least on some of the online sites that I checked around. So maybe the original price for Leonardo was also $75 and he just happened to be marked down for reasons unknown. He may have also very well been the first figure or the first statue that we've gotten from the gallery line. So maybe that's one of the reasons the stock had been for him longer, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he was marked down a little bit more. But if you're looking around, though, at least for what I'm seeing for online site listings, most of the asking prices for, again, like the gallery statues, turtles, you're looking at $74, $75 a piece, and again, times 4 if you're looking to get all 4. One thing I did mention, though, at the end of this review is the configuration of the turtles. Ideally, though, you could really have just the statue. So essentially, if you're attaching them the same way, where Leonardo, if to looking at the way I was looking at it, was in the back, Raphael was in the front, taking that same idea, you could kind of really rotate it. But it would just only mean that Leonardo's kind of facing more sideways instead of front and center. Other than just, again, the configuration I personally would have had, if Leo is the leader after all, I would have had him more in the front and not necessarily had Raphael in the front. Other than that, though, I really like the look of these statues. I like, though, Leo more, but I do like the idea that they at least chose colors different from one another. Some may have preferred personally to have their Ninja Turtles all sort of being the same consistent color, but being a big fan of the original Playmates line, I don't mind that they kind of took a little bit of inspirational cues from perhaps that original toy line when it came around time for them to color the Turtles. What do you think of Raphael? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys at all been collecting the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gallery statues? And if you have, which ones have you picked up? Still have yet to get myself Donatello and Michelangelo and see if I can try to track those ones down. The folks over at Dahmm Life were kind enough to provide Raphael and Leonardo. So, of course, we had the chance to have a look at those. Big thank you once again to the folks over at Dahmm Life that did, yes, provide the sample. But again, what do you guys think of the statues? Let me know. And would you have also rather had Leonardo in the front, or do you like the way they've actually got them configured where Raphael is in the front instead? All in all, though, a nice looking statue. Other than a little bit of a messiness around his headband, Raphael did turn out nice. I don't think, though, he turned out as nice as Leonardo. If you guys did enjoy this video, want to throw it a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly do want to stick around for more, we will also be looking at some more Diamond Select reviews. In the meantime, though, if you guys want to go back and have a look at the other things that I've looked at for Diamond, popping up at the very end of this video will in fact be a playlist. Not only for the things that they've done for statues, but the thing as a whole that the company's been producing over the years. Feel free to check out those playlists if you have a little bit of time on your hands. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.